this person is feeling overwhelmed, and they're embarrassed that at the age that they are, they shouldn't have these types of problems. Now, they don't list their age, but they do say that these problems have become worse the older they've gotten, and so they're feeling anxious and depressed. So bad so that they can't leave the house, or they don't shower or leave the house at all, and they don't have a motivation to do any of this. Including, so some of these problems include drinking too much. Now, they don't address if they're an alcoholic or if they're just drinking too much. Now, there's a clip. I haven't seen the movie. I don't even know what the movie is. But there's a scene where John Malkovich is in an interview with somebody, and they're talking about this guy's problems, and they said, "You drink too much." And his reply was, "You're a Mormon. Next to you, we all have a drinking problem." And I'm a Mormon. So, but I still have a point to this. I don't drink. I've never drank anything. But then you say you've been binge eating. You've gained 16 pounds since February. You're struggling with TV addiction. You're hating your career path and your job. You don't get along with your coworkers. You have trouble sleeping, and you will either sleep 3 to 4 hours or 12, but nothing in between. Very bad self-esteem issues, struggling with who you are, intimacy issues, and you've never had a long-term relationship. You spend most of your time alone. Spending habits are out of control. You do mostly online shopping, although you say it's getting better recently, but it'll get worse again. Where do you even start? What do you work on first? You just feel hopeless. You'd appreciate any advice. So a lot of these problems are actually the same cause. The eating too much, or the drinking too much, or the spending like a drunken sailor. All of those things have the same root. Now, the only things that I would say, even the sleeping, all of those things, with the exception of hating your career path and your job, all have a very similar root. So it doesn't really matter what the problem is, eating or drinking too much. All of those things are forms of checking out. So what are you checking out from is the real question. What are you checking out from? It could be your job. It could just be that easy. However, I read through some of the advice that other people offered, and some of them had some good ideas, but I think a lot of them were just kind of, here's some Band-Aids, or here's a way to hobble along, which is not what you want. You want the type of life where you feel peace and contentment and joy, even when everything around you might be awful, even though you're around coworkers that you don't like being around, it doesn't affect you. And so all this anxiety, I did a live stream earlier of some of the anxiety issues that I dealt with. And so you may want to seek medical help, because I had some genetic conditions that led to problems. However, there's some things that you can try, and I would like to suggest those here. As far as not sleeping properly and feeling heavy amounts of anxiety and depression, that could have a lot to do with the types of foods you're eating. If you don't have magnesium in your diet, and if you're eating what's considered the standard American diet, chances are you're not. Magnesium is a major, most Americans have major deficiencies with magnesium. And magnesium is a huge, it's a mineral that your body burns through when you're stressed. So you want to make sure that you're eating right. However, that's not going to solve your problems. It's just going to make sure that your body isn't paying the price. Now, you seem to be hitting all of the areas across the board of how people deal with stress. You're going for all of them, or a lot of them. So what you want to be able to do is let your stress not affect you at all. Be unmoved and unchanged by the pressures of life. And I'm not always at that point, but I am quite often. And I do know that if I'm tired or not eating correctly, those pressures can get to me more easily. But I'd like to share some techniques with you that have greatly helped me in overcoming issues of anxiety. And if you can get this as a pattern for dealing with these stresses, these triggers, or whatever you want to call them, that pressure you to resorting to those things. And it's almost like a hypnotic state that you're in when you resort. X happens, I need to binge watch to get my mind off of it. This stress happens, and now I'm eating like crazy. So you really are checking out. And unfortunately, there's a book written by a guy named Clotaire Rapaille, who talks about the hypnotic states that people in certain cultures enter. He doesn't really use those terms, but that's what they are. And how companies can market to those states that people enter. Checking out is a big one. Drinking or eating, binge watching. Netflix is definitely capitalizing on that because that's what they do. They offer shows. So how do you do it? How do you let all of these stresses roll off of your back? Now, there's two, and I don't know if you're religious, and this very well could help you either become religious or become open to the idea. I don't know. But there's two parts to prayer. There's the speaking part of prayer that anyone who's religious is comfortable with speaking to God. Then there's the other side of prayer, which is commonly called meditation. And I think people that aren't comfortable with religion or spirituality accept meditation. That, to me, is the listening part of prayer. Now, when you are able to take a break, to break those continuous thoughts in your head that drive you to drink, as that phrase is popular, or break the continuous loop of thought that leads you, or that pressure, that stress that leads you to binge eat, you have an opportunity there to actually be aware and break that hypnotism and actually choose what is good or what is right. And sometimes you might not know what is good or what is right. And that is where myself, as a believer in God and Jesus Christ, would tell you that that is the Spirit of truth that is speaking to you. Now, and this is something that anybody can do. So there's a few ways to do it. I'll tell you two ways. One is through breathing, and one is through just closing your eyes. And the breathing one, and I've mentioned this in a few of my videos already, the breathing method, and if you do both of them, well, that's even better. And you can do this so that you can get to the point of recognizing how to enter this state of mind so that the right answer comes, or the temptation leaves, it's really quite helpful in every aspect of life, so that you'll look like a wizard or whatever. So if you breathe deliberately, slowly, deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth, what that does is it breaks the continuous loop of thought. Because if you just sit in a room staring off or whatever, just quiet, all the things that you need to do that day, all the stresses from people around you, noises, smells, events from your childhood that were traumatic, anything can come in and cause that trigger. Now, by breathing, what happens is, breathing in slowly and exhaling, there's a part of your brain that is responsible for monitoring your well-being. When you start breathing deliberately and slowly like that, that part of your brain tells everything else in your brain to shut up. That part of your brain, once it says, hey, wait, everybody shut up, we need to listen here, all of a sudden you'll notice that noisy part of your brain is quiet, because your body's trying to pay attention to, why are you breathing this way? Is there something impeding or blocking you? Are you suffocating? Now, it is in that moment that you have an opportunity to actually be aware of what's happening, instead of following this hypnotic trance down the path that is more or less programmed in you. You know, if you become addicted to something, you're hypnotized, to use a different word, into repeating that same pattern over and over. So when you break that continuous loop of thought and you actually become aware of your current state, then you can think clearly. And it's in those moments that, like I said, the Spirit of Truth can speak to you and help you. Now, a lot of times, just by breathing like that, you'll just fall asleep, especially if you're laying down. And it's because, one, it's relaxing. Obviously, you're bringing oxygen into your bloodstream. It's almost like yawning. But it's once your brain is finally able to shut off, and you're not getting sleep. You get 3 to 4 hours a day until you crash hard and your body just can't take it anymore. So that breathing, you're going to start falling asleep just by doing that, because you're breaking that loop of thought, and then your body says, oh, I can finally relax. So that's one way. Eventually, if you start breathing and you're actually getting decent sleep, then you'll notice what the other method of listening to the Holy Ghost, which is by closing your eyes and looking at the back of your eyelids. This is a way that I've heard this described to me, and it does work. So if you close your eyes and look at the back of your eyelids, there's nothing there. It's just this weird pixelated light show. It's nothing. It's just weird dots and things that are kind of floating by. And it breaks. Now, if you just close your eyes and don't going into Italian, don't think about being aware of looking at the back of your eyelids, you are going to get lost in all kinds of thoughts. However, when you give your eyes something to look at that is nothing but weird, almost abstract lines, that does it too. That breaks that stream of thought. And so when you do that, it gives you an opportunity to be still and have the right answer come into your mind. And again, you might just find it very peaceful and relaxing, and that's all you want at the moment. I would, and this is what I like to do, is couple that with actually praying and talking to God, thanking Him, seeking blessings and help in whatever trials, or just seeking direction in your life. Regardless of whether or not you do that, you still can benefit from the latter part of just listening, which I think is important for a lot of people who offer prayers asking God for things and then just don't bother to listen. So that's my advice for you. I think a lot of those problems will go away if you pursue the things along that line. Maybe not everything, hating your career path. Well, just change your career. Honestly, that would be my suggestion in that situation. But I don't know why you hate your career. But it sounds like you're very stressed, and that you could certainly use some relief. So try those things. That should take care of a lot of it. I'm just looking over the list right now that I read off to see if there's anything that I may have left out. But try those things and see how it goes, and let me know. I would love to hear back from you and see if that's helped you at all, or if you have any questions, let me know. But thanks for watching, and I hope something works out for you. Hopefully something I suggested might enlighten you or put you on a path that would be helpful. So anyway, thanks for watching, and have a good day. Bye.